She said I was trying to help him one day, and Joe is not here today. Maybe he'll work in late. I don't either.
Are we ready?
Right?
Yep. Call this meeting September 13th, Commissioners, to order. If y'all stand and join me with the pledge and a short prayer. Heavenly Father, we ask that you bless our county and our nation, and we ask for your guidance and wisdom in making good decisions that would be pleasing to you for our county. All these things we ask in your heavenly name. Amen.
Amen.
Have the commissioners had an opportunity to review the minutes of the previous meeting? And if so, do I have a motion?
Motion to accept is presented.
Second.
I have a motion and a second to accept minutes. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries 3-0. Have the commissioners had an opportunity to review the claims? And if so, do I have a motion?
Motion to approve is presented.
A second.
I have a motion and a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries 3-0. Have the commissioners had an opportunity to review the payroll? And if so, do I have a motion?
Motion to approve is presented.
I second.
I have a motion and a second to approve. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries 3-0. Mr. Murphy.
Good morning, Commissioners. Thanks for the opportunity to give you an update. Prior to the meeting, I handed you a document recently released by the Indiana Economic Development Corporation about READY and READY 2.0. On the first page there, it talks about the goals and focus areas, and then it gives examples: quality of life, quality of place, quality of opportunity. If you turn the page, it's just printed double-sided, so the back of the first page, the total appropriation is $500 million. The maximum commitment to a region, and this is different from READY 1.0, is $75 million. So the last round of READY was $50 million. So that is a change, up to $75 million. I will let you read the eligible activities on your own, but I will point out that this is a little different than, say, local government public money. This funding can go for the benefit of private projects. And, prior to this coming out, I was curious on how to introduce the READY funds in support of, say, a building rehab, not owned by a local government. And so I think this is very helpful in how to introduce READY funding into the capital stack or the funding mix on a project. The match requirements are the same on a portfolio basis. So across the entire program, they want to match it 4-to-1. Not every project has to be 4-to-1, but match is going to be very, very important moving forward. And then on the last page, the timeline, essentially, the regional applications are due in February, and the state will make a decision in April or May. And so many of you have been invited and/or attended our regional planning sessions, stakeholder meetings. Those will continue as we put together our regional application.
So this timeline is a lot longer than if memory serves me correct, the previous Ready, I mean, it was a pretty short. It was very short at the beginning, and then they lengthened it to
It
like
did.
October, November, something like that, and
It
then
did.
they awarded.
You know, I don't know if it's any longer, but it feels longer, and so
Well,
that's...
that's what maybe it's not, but just the way it's written out,
Yeah.
when I first read it, when I got it emailed to me, it was like, it looks like it's a longer process, maybe.
So much was unknown
Back
in the
yeah.
first round. And so I think this is
So maybe
helpful.
it just feels longer, not
It
necessarily
does.
longer.
Maybe it's just because we know.
Yeah. So how's the process, and I'm sorry if I'm jumping ahead in the question and answer, of the group narrowing down for the program or presentation, how is that coming along?
We will continue, and I'll get you an update on what that's going to look like. The region is adjusting our timeline based on this timeline. What I'm hearing is that the state is going to look more at strategies and objectives and less about projects, make the funding allocation, and then it will be a collaborative process between the region and the state on what actually gets funded out of our allocation, which is a little different than first round. First round was you have X amount of dollars for the region, and the region pretty well decided what was funded with approval from the state. But it sounds like the state is going to be more involved in picking projects. And so I'll get you some updated information as that becomes available.
Thank you.
Speaking of potentially preparing projects, I understand that I maybe caused a kerfuffle last Friday when there was a drone flying over here, and I was the cause of that, and realized maybe I should have sent a note to some people. So I apologize for that, but we were flying the annex building in an effort to create some project readiness. We're also flying some other portions of the community in an effort to have some projects moving forward and, be ready to go. I'm talking out of both sides of my mouth here. I just told you they're going to talk about strategies, right? They are. But they're not going to fund strategies. They're going to fund projects. And so we've got to do both on a parallel track. And so that was the reason for doing some drone work, is to have enough information to put together basically a one-pager. It says, these are some potential projects. I think residential development is going to be very competitive from the state. And so we're pursuing some residential development as well. Moving away from Ready, Make My Move will continue through July of 2024. So that is an incentive for either remote workers or other workers that live out of state to move to the county. And so just wanted to plug that program, and there's going to be some more communication, particularly to employers. The county's an employer as well. So, if you're trying to attract talent from out of state, they are eligible for that incentive. You just have to get us their name ahead of time, because the Make My Move back office operation is geared towards remote, but we're able to do both. We've had 3 total movers now. 2 remote. So the first one was a boomerang, grew up here, lived in a different state, came home, brought a remote job with them. The second one was what I'll call traditional, somebody from out of state taking a job at a local company that was New Lisbon Broadband, New Lisbon Telephone Company. And we just welcomed our third remote worker. So that program continues, and I appreciate county government's support. Any questions? Thank you.
Thank you, Corey. Next, I have the August report from the clerk's office and the treasurer. Do I have a motion?
Motion to approve is presented.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded to approve both these monthly reports. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries 3-0. Next, I have food and beverage claim for the Newcastle EDC project from M&M Painting for $2,337.50. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
I have a motion and a second to approve this claim. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries 3-0. Let's see Angela. I don't see Brian. I don't see Joe. Mr. Rust.
I've got one contract, 3 copies of a section corner work that we're continuing to do with USI. I did not have Joel look at these, but they're the same. They've just changed the dates on them, so it's the same as what we had before that you had approved. I need approval on those if you approve them. If you got any questions, it's just continuing to do our section corner work that we're supposed to do.
I will make the motion to approve based upon Joel just doing a quick review of it,
Okay.
just to make sure that you don't see anything. I don't think that there will be, but I feel better for you to review it.
Okay.
So based upon his review, I'll go ahead and make the motion to approve it, and then we can sign it when he gives his thumbs up.
Okay, I'll give them to you. All right, thank you. An update on the section corner project that we started last April with the ARP money. We've been able to get through 150 sections out of the county, out of 395. We started out with $203,000 for the whole project. We've spent $121,347. We have $81,653 left, and we should be able to complete the project by hopefully the end of the year, and should have it completed and online. So just giving you an update on that. Any questions?
Nope. We'll go ahead and I have a motion and a second to approve your contracts based on Joel's review. So all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries 3-0.
Thank you.
You're welcome. I don't see Mr. Green. Sheriff, do you have anything?
Good morning.
Morning.
A couple of updates. We are now using our body cameras. So finally have those on the road, and we're happy about that.
Do we need to smile and wave?
It's not,
Oh, okay.
it's not recording. We're recording here, so, no, I think the community's happy. We're happy about it. So that's good for transparency. One thing that I know I mentioned a lot, but I've got to bring it back up. The jail is staying very full, and we are working very, very hard to process people in a timely manner. We were at 225 today. I believe that we released 37 yesterday, it's phenomenal that we're just staying full, and I'm very concerned about this because we just don't have any more room. So I just want to keep that on the radar that we're just going to have to think about that next pod.
So I believe that the plan from the council was, I think the bond for the Justice Center goes off in 2024. Is that right, Debbie?
Yeah.
And then we'll be able to rebond.
Is that like what portion of 2024? Like, is it,
It's January. I think it's
Oh, wow.
January 1, yeah.
We're talking
Yeah,
about-
early year.
yeah, we're talking
Yeah,
4 months or
yeah.
so. So
And
then
and
we
I
can-
know Elevatus is coming down and doing an
Correct,
architectural tour
yes.
next week?
It's coming
Sometime,
out. Okay, good. So we're looking at maybe in 4 months being able to have a serious discussion about it. That's good. We have been working on, in order to keep the jail population down, I think I mentioned this last meeting, but working on getting people out on for pretrial on ankle monitors, and so there's a lot of coordinating going on there. But I'm just surprised at how high the numbers are staying. So the most important issue here to bring up today is our vehicles. We had a crash just a couple of days ago. A lady turned in front of one of our officers and totaled his car, which was a new car. We are currently down to, I believe, 2 spare cars. And I don't know how to make this any more urgent. One thing that I told our guys in a department meeting a while back is, I'm not going to scream and yell when I say, hey, we've got to do this. Just take that as serious. So I don't know how else to make this any more serious. But we are at a point where, another vehicle accident, and we're going to be out of vehicles. Part of our commitment to our officers when we hire them is a take-home vehicle for personal use. It serves several purposes, but it is also part of our agreement when they are hired that they have a vehicle for at-home use. So we are just burying money into vehicle maintenance. It's phenomenal how fast the money's going out. New transmissions, new suspensions, new engines. We are this is a crisis. We've got vehicles out there that I know one of our K-9 guys is driving a car. I believe it's a 2013 with 200 and some thousand miles on it. The only spare vehicles we have are in the 200 and some thousand mile range. Many of our on-duty vehicles are 160, 170,000, 180,000. And the urgency here is getting a police vehicle and getting it equipped takes a long time. It takes months and months. The order bank has already been opened up for next year's orders. The state pricing is in, and we don't even have the ability to order right now because we don't have any direction on where we're headed. So what's happening currently is thousands of vehicles are getting in front of us to where when we do order, and I don't even know when we're going to be able to, it's going to be months and months. So I'm just saying we're in a crisis, a couple more accidents or engines going bad, and we're going to literally not have vehicles. And here's what I am prepared to do. If an on-duty officer does not have a vehicle, I'm just going to put him with another officer, and we're going to be, we're already short, as I've talked about before, we need several more full-time officers. So I feel like we're running short on the road, but we're getting into a position to where we're liable to have 2 and 3 people riding in a car on duty, limiting our ability to patrol. And I just don't know how else to say this is an urgent thing. I don't want to say this is an emergency. It's a crisis. It's not an emergency because I've talked about this from January 1st and now we're 9 months into it. And I'm not apparently understanding how, like what do we do when we don't have vehicles for the police officers to drive. Does anybody have?
Look, if you look on the itinerary, all of this is up for discussion later on in the itinerary.
Okay, good. All right, no problem then. I think the itinerary just came out this morning. I didn't get a chance to review it. So just urgency on vehicles. That's a big thing on my heart right now. So that's all. Thank you.
Debbie, you have anything? Jenny? Bill? I don't see anybody from the park. Jody? You don't have anything either? Gabe? Butch? Okay. Mandy? Let's see, Scott? Tim?
Morning. I want to touch on a couple things briefly. The multi-hazard mitigation meeting that we're having next week. I want to make sure you knew about that and you were inviting all the city, county, townships, all of the leadership in the community to that meeting. I think you've all received that invite. Okay.
Could you
Just wanna
repeat the
make sure.
date and time?
I'm sorry?
Could you repeat the date and time?
October 19th at 2 p.m. September. I said it wrong myself. I even wrote it down wrong. All right, I just wished away a whole month. September 19th at 2 p.m. Sorry. Thank you. Somebody's listening. Appreciate it.
It's on my calendar. I just
Yeah,
have to go
I know.
look.
I'm sorry. So I wanted to give you an update also on the building that's being constructed at the training ground. It's basically complete. I'm waiting on Duke to deliver transformers, so we don't have any power yet. So that's on delay. There's been hurricanes and things, so they've been rerouted. So we're on a standstill there, but we're almost done. It's very nice. So when we're all finished, I'll put all that out. And then I believe to piggyback on the sheriff a little bit about emergency vehicles, and just to kind of jump right on board with that. I've dealt with fleet vehicles before in the past, and it is a slow process. I mean, I don't need to go on board with that, but we did talk about a vehicle in order to facilitate some hazardous material trailers, and I know you're going to open that up later. So, but just to reiterate, the emergency vehicle bidding and things, like I said, I've been involved in that before. It is a very slow process, and once you fall behind, you get way behind. So, but anyway, I just wanted to talk about the plan and the building. So that's it for the EMA. Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody from probation or community corrections? Next, we have a quote for Civic Plus.
This is for the website. So Henry County revamped the website. Started the process probably 2 years ago, maybe a little more. We went live probably a year and a half ago with a new website. I can't remember exactly when. And this is just the renewal for that.
For $7,030.81.
Yes. So with that, I will make the motion to accept the quote from Civic Plus for the web hosting website.
A second.
I have a motion and a second to approve this agreement. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries 3-0. Next up, we have the enterprise lease agreement. And Joel, I'm going to apologize because I got this at 6:30 last night, did not have a chance to go over it,
And
so.
it's all very confusing as well. Well, because the way they made the changes.
Yeah, I mean,
the
there are a
edits.
series of agreements I looked at a while ago. Asked for some revisions, Enterprise made some of those revisions. I mean, I could live with the version of the agreement that I think you have in front of you. It's a little different because rather than make the changes directly to the agreement, they submitted them as addendums to the agreement, which gets you to the same spot, it just creates a lot more paperwork.
I think my biggest concern all along was damage to vehicles as far as excessive wear and tear, and who determined that, and if that was still in there, and there was a couple other items. as far as value and who determines and excessive mileage and if we pay. So if those have been addressed and you're comfortable with them,
Well, I mean, you're gonna have to monitor it, because obviously then they're the ones that are making the determination on value.
Yeah, that's
Trade
what,
in. So, I mean, it's gonna have to be an interactive process as it goes.
That is
So you don't get in a situation where we're gonna be writing checks at the end of these leases.
that's what concerns me the most.
yeah, so it's my understanding that the council has budgeted, and Sheriff, if you want to come back up, the council has budgeted, I don't know the exact dollar figure, 64.5
Okay.
to lease 4. Now, and I'm just going to ask this question, because at your budget hearing, I was listening to it live stream, and when they said that you could lease, they were budgeting to lease 4 cars only, you made the statement that you maybe didn't want to lease anymore. Is that still a true statement?
So the reason that we started looking at the lease option was simply for that, to have an option. We did not know whether it would be more cost-effective or not. So we have put the effort into getting all of this lease information simply to be able to look at both options. Looking at the cost to lease 4 cars, I agree with Steve about, I'm very much concerned about, how they're going to value the car at the end. I'm very much concerned about the mileage because we put enormous amounts of miles on the cars. So, but looking at those numbers, I don't have the breakdown right in front of me. It appears to me that it is not going to be, it's going to be less cost-effective leasing as compared to buying. I believe, so 60, what was that number again, real quick?
64.5.
64.5.
So it's my understanding that's what they've budgeted. So if you don't lease, they've budgeted 1 car.
Yeah, correct. So, but here's my concern with the 64.5. That is $16,000 a year for the vehicle. That, if you break it down, and it's basically a 5-year lease. If you take that times 5, that's pushing $80,000. So we can buy a vehicle and outfit it. And there's a lot of details there in the upfitting. That when I say $60,000 per vehicle, that's about $15,000 in upfitting. With the lease, they're not putting nearly the amount of items in the upfitting. So in the long term, it looks like the leasing is not going to be. We would probably be better off to go get loans and buy the vehicles.
I know that's what the city did.
Yeah. So.
I mean, basically, they went to the bank.
Yeah, so I feel like long-term, and I know we put a lot of effort and a lot of hours into this lease thing, but again, it was simply to be able to show that we've done our due diligence and looking at both options. There's just 2 options, buy or lease. I think that we're going to get in trouble long-term leasing. I think we're going to come up at the end we thought it was going to be worth $18,000, but actually it's only worth $3,000. What do you do at that point? So due to the mileage that we put on, the wear and tear, and just due to those numbers right there, 4 cars at $64,000, we can go get a loan and buy 4 cars and come out better off. So I really think that we need to pump the brakes, no pun intended, on the lease. I just don't feel like it's a good financial move long term. And I appreciate all the hours. Captain Matt has spent enormous amounts of hours. You all have too in this. But at least we can say we have really, really searched it out. And I think it's long term. It's not. It's just not going to be cost effective. We're going to end up losing money over time. And I think that we'll be better off to not enter into a lease agreement.
Most of the counties that I talked to, it didn't work for them. And I think, but you can just shake your head, yes or no. I think previous sheriffs had attempted it, and it didn't work as well. Okay.
Yeah, and I foresee that, and again, I appreciate all the time you all have put into it. I know that we've put a lot of hours into it, but at least the public knows we're searching for the best option for the long-term, short-term, all of that. So I think that we, at this point, we need to appreciate that we understand that it's not going to work for us and move forward in the way that we have in the past. And of course, you know, they can get loans or however, it doesn't matter to me what works best on that end. But I do think long-term, I think we need to just appreciate the effort and bow out of the lease option.
Joe, do you have? So I guess with that, I will make a motion to deny anything moving forward with the lease agreements.
Second.
I have a motion and a second to not enter in with enterprise lease program. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries 3-0. Now, do you or have you any ideas as far as exploring loans through your department? Or Joel, can you address what the city did?
What the city's done is basically it's a lease purchase. I mean, so on the structure, it looks like a lease, but you make payments, and then at the end of the lease term, you own the vehicles. So it operates similar to a loan, but it's set up as a lease.
Is that a strategy that you're willing to?
You know, on the financial end, I guess that would be more of, you know, the commissioners making that call. I need adequate number of vehicles, and I think the council can sort out how to go about that. The one thing that we did like in looking at the lease was somebody else doing all of the legwork in turning the vehicles over, reselling them. You know, good example, we've got grass growing up around all the vehicles in the back of the sheriff's department. And so that was a positive. We kind of hope to get somebody to, you know, to run that side for us, but obviously there's a cost to that. I feel like that what we have to get away from is just running these cars till they're only worth what we can scrap them out at Neal's scrapyard for. We have got to be able to turn them over when they have some value to them. So I think if we can get out of this cycle of just running them to death and then putting them in the backyard, you know, we can manage the process of selling them. There are agencies out there that do help with that. That's what they focus on, buying used vehicles. So as far as the loan, whether we get loans for them, that is up to the council. I just need vehicles. So I'm good, except I didn't want us to get into that. I just felt like the lease financially is going to eat us long term. So that, I guess.
So that was part of my concern with it when we started out, was we were a little worried where that was going to end us up financially. I guess we'll have a discussion with council, and we'll talk with Joel on a little more detail.
Could we, what kind of an update do we have for the ARP funds?
That's coming up in discussion.
Okay.
So we have letter for trails. I also have Jeff ready to talk about the trails over the, sorry, I'll do it in the microphone. I was just pointing out that Jeff was here to talk about the trails that are going over the roadways over the old, that Joe Copeland brought us the picture a couple
Yes.
months ago. Yep, so.
All right. Well, I guess next up is the letter from Trails from Randolph County. Do I have any discussion on that?
Joel, have we determined any liability of, well, I know based upon the letter, we would have to agree to help pay to make the roads bicycle friendly. And I personally can't commit the highway funds. I mean, that's the you know, I can't commit highway funds without Joe Copeland saying that he's got the money to do it, number one. And number two, the concern that if we do official markings of trails on county roads, what kind of I know people ride bikes on our roads and walk but they're taking, that's their own personal choice to do so. But if we officially make it part of the trail, even if it's just for 6 months or 5 years, what kind of a liability if somebody is riding and they are injured?
I think that was the same concern we had at Honey Creek and
Yeah.
why we didn't mark them, and who gets the roads up to bicycle or walkers standards, safety or what have you.
I want to support the project, but I can't say, Joe Copeland, you're going to spend $200,000 or how much ever it is, I don't know what it is, to make the road.
Yeah, and based on the letter, I haven't,
And I guess, Perry, I know you were part of that discussion last time. Without a letter of support or agreeing to this, will that hinder the grant that they're going after? It's the Next Level Trails grant, correct?
Perry Knox with SJCA. The trail grant was submitted in August. That was the deadline. So I'm not aware if the supporting document that you're discussing today would hinder that application because the application deadline has already passed.
Okay.
I don't know if they're looking at a future grant, which there is potential opportunity in a couple of other sources. So I don't know if that's what they're trying to gain support for.
Okay.
so I guess we need a little more information from Randolph County as far as, what they want to do. I don't think anyone here wants to, hinder a grant being
But it's not going to affect
awarded.
their being awarded a grant. Will this affect the award of the grant? I know they've done the application. Will they look at this and go, we're going to put the brakes on this because?
Because it's past the due date of the application, I'm not sure if they can submit additional materials.
Okay, I got you.
That's what
Okay.
I'm not sure on, but I know that they're looking at future grant opportunities. So, and I did talk to Joe earlier this week. He had done a site visit out there to that road and had looked at potential solutions, but what those are, I do not know.
Okay. I think I'm
Sorry
just-
if I'm not
no,
much
you're-
help today.
You're fine. With Joe not being here, I think I'm just going to make the motion to table one more time. Until we can, because I can say we're going to support it, but, and I know there are county roads. And they will be, that'd be an area that would be fixed, or if it needs to be fixed. I don't know what the condition of that road is currently.
Nope.
But I also don't want to take money away from it. If it's in good shape, I don't want to personally take money away from a road that may need it without Joe saying, hey, we can do this with this, this, and this. So with that, I'll make the motion to table.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded to table the Randolph County letter for trails. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries 3-0.
Now, if you want to put Jeff
Now, Mr. Ray.
And I know you weren't 100% ready, but at least an update.
That's okay. That's okay. So just to add a little bit to the discussion of the tabling of the roads, the 525 North is gravel, and it's a half mile long from 36 over to 900 East. And then it's 0.28 mile from 525 North up to 36. And that road is chipped and sealed, but it's got potholes that have been filled. So that's the condition of the road. And, it's a little bit uneven because it's not a highly traveled road, of course. The other side of 36, being 900 East, it's in a lot better shape. It's chipped and sealed also, but it's relatively flat, and then it takes you up to 1,000 South, and on our side, it's 600 North. And then 1,000 South in Randolph County is asphalt. because that was one of the roads that was fixed after they put the windmills in. So they were required to do that. So that just gives you an idea of what the condition of what the road conditions are. And I know that Joe needs to speak to what he's willing to do. So, and I know Joe asked me about that. So, but he's not here, so I'm not going to talk for him. Just like you're not going to talk for him and commit something. So, enough on that.
Good.
But you didn't know what the condition, what the roads are, and so that's what they are. So you have a better idea.
Okay.
And I know you wanted me to talk about the bridges that he had discussed back in June, and he brought you the photo array, and he gave me a couple copies. And we were able to discuss this last Wednesday afternoon, and he went over, we didn't do a site visit, that's still up to us, but he went over what he felt like was needed to be looked at, and he expects us to look at that, and I'm fine with that. And so we went to each one of the bridges. He showed me the photos on his PC so we could see them bigger, instead of this small little thing, which is really kind of hard to see unless you're there. But we went over those things, and his main concern is potentially what might fall into the roadway due to the concrete, some of it delaminating. They were put in around 1907. So how much work had been done since then? I can assure you all that I take a look at these things, not completely on an annual basis, but we're in that area all the time. So I have never observed anything falling off the bridges and falling in the roadway. So just wanted to make sure that at least that. That doesn't mean that something hasn't. I just haven't seen it, haven't been by there where it was in the road. So, and we've been looking at these things since 2011, 2012, and I just really haven't seen any further deterioration of some of this. So, but we're going to go out and look over the roadway, and I know some of these photos are on the side of the roadway, which, he made the comment that, well, it doesn't have any real danger to the public because it falls on the shoulder of the road and not in the road. So we're going to take a better look at those. I just haven't gotten out there since, him and I talked Wednesday afternoon, but we intend to do that. And so we realize that we maintaining the trails that the county owns, the corridor that the county owns, it's up to us. So, and we support that, and always have since 2009, whenever the county took ownership of some of this, just over 200 acres of trail corridor from DNR back then. So, and Joe looked everything at it from the road. He encouraged me to go up on the trail and look at the top of the concrete that's going across the bridge. He wasn't concerned about the steel. Steel rusts all the time. He didn't really see anything from that, any kind of deterioration from that. But I intend to go out there and take a good look and over the roadway and get up on top of the corridor, because we do take a look at that, because we've got the railings up there so people can't just fall off, and our fences. So we will report back what we found, and this is what we're going to do. And so the one bridge is not on the list, and that is West Street in Raysville, and he said that was in good condition. So I know that there is some deterioration on top just because freeze thaw over the years, over 100 years, wood, just like your driveway, does the same thing with concrete. So we'll take a look at all that, and he encouraged me to get up there with a hammer and kind of tap on things, and we'll have somebody with blinkers on, so if anything does fall, it's just going to fall on the roadway, and then we'll clean it up. And then we'll have to say, this is what we're going to do to make sure this doesn't happen. Well, and nothing's 100%,
Nothing's
but
100%.
we will do some maintenance if it needs to be.
Okay.
We do own the 775 West Bridge because that came with that purchase. The county owns the other bridges, so because it came with the DNR acquisition of part of the corridor in that area also. So I know some people are going to look at them and go, oh, they look terrible, but there's a lot of material there and a lot of steel there, and the railroad would have abandoned that because they figure their bridges last about 75 years for their traffic, which is a lot of weight, and they weren't up to that on that line that ran from Indianapolis on past Richmond. So that's the main reason why they determined that we don't want that expense after they had to raise the corridor for the bridges around 1907 because there was too much car traffic. Everybody was starting to buy cars, and they didn't want to get into that every grade crossing and potentially killing somebody or hurting property at that. So does that answer what you need from us now?
Absolutely, thank you.
Do you have any questions?
We're just wanting to err on the side of caution for public safety, so.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's why I said I just never have seen anything that has fallen in the roadway. We pick up our trash that people leave there, of course, go underneath the bridge and leave trash, but we'll take a better look at it than what we just kind of look at it and just try to get ahead of the curve a little bit, because I think that's what you'd like to see.
Yeah, I think that was why Joe looked at them, was just concerned that there was a potential.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, and even US 40 bridge, or the old National Road Bridge, there's, that's a huge steel bridge there, and the wing walls are what's, deteriorating, but that's not in the roadway, and then there's two or three posts in the middle, so we'll take a good look at those posts, because they do have concrete bases on them, and just see how all that is, so. And we'll report back to you. So, all right?
all right.
Okay.
Thanks, sir.
Thank you.
Next is the Resolution 20-23-9-13016, amending the coronavirus. And I think there's some discussion on the way that's worded, because it says remaining revenue received from the local virus recovery fund, approximately $5 million for the repair and improvement of county buildings and acquisition of vehicles.
Yeah, the motion was, that meeting was just an odd meeting. I thought the motion was made one way, but it wasn't. So we need to kind of break it out, because $5 million for repair improvement in county buildings. The sheriff would be happy if we said you get $5 million and we take nothing, but that's not going to happen. So we need to, now in that discussion, in that ARP committee meeting, we also talked about Henry County EMS needing a couple SUVs. Gabe Beatty weights and measures. In order to do his job, he needs a slide in his vehicle. Tim needs, EMA needs a truck for pulling the emergency trailers. He's got nice trailers, but nothing to pull it with. And then obviously the sheriff's department. So, Joe, do you have anything you want to?
Joe.
You, Joe.
In the meetings, what we started talking about was a specific number of sheriff's department vehicles, and then it was added on to with the other vehicles. So are we looking to put a number on the type of vehicle, or on who is going to get vehicles, or are we looking at what are we exactly looking at here?
I would say that's probably a fair assessment of what we're looking at, is trying to figure out what we're doing, because like I said, right now, it's just a general $5 million, and that wasn't the intent of that.
I'll start the discussion with the easy ones. Please don't take that the wrong way, Sheriff, but these are easier than dealing with the vehicles and the council and the way they've got things budgeted. So this was just a little convoluted. So I would like to see it split out with Henry County EMS up to, and Mandy, correct me, I think we talked and if you want to come up, you can, to equip 2 SUVs for Henry County EMS. And in hindsight, when Henry County EMS stopped being ALS, we transferred all of those SUVs over to the city.
Yeah, you gave them away.
Yeah, in hindsight, we shouldn't have, but at that point in time, nobody was sure that you were.
I think we can do it.
You did a great job in turning it around. So there was some doubt at the beginning. I have approximately 55,000 each on that. So 2 of those. I think I don't remember what Gabe's slide is, and he's not here, but I have listed here up to $60,000. That would just give him wiggle room for his slide. I want to say it's around 40, 45 for the slide. No, up to 110, because each vehicle's with upfit about 55. They may be able to find something less, but I don't want to. And then Gabe, I think his slide last time he looked at it was somewhere around 40, 45, but just to give a little wiggle room just in case, up to 60,000 for weights and measures. And again, of course, I don't think it'll cost that much, but we can bring that back in and then Tim, you said truck. What could you get yours for? A truck that's heavy enough to pull your trailers. Okay. So if we do up to 85, and again, Tim's been looking at vehicles that are less than that, but to give wiggle room there. And now we can move back to the discussion of the sheriff's vehicles.
What was the total we were working with for a single vehicle?
I believe it was $60,000 to purchase and equip. I had asked specifically for 6 vehicles equipped, so I'm trying to run the math. 6 sixes is 360, but I thought I asked for 330,000. I'm not sure what the exact number was there. I want to say a couple things here. Maybe I'll wait until I hear further. Are we attempting to pull the money out of the $330,000 that I had requested for these other items? Is that
No.
what I see happening? No. Okay.
These are all
Yes,
separate discussions from your vehicles.
So if I remember right, I thought I asked for 330, but that number doesn't add up to 60,000 each. But that should have been 360. But 330,000, that would get us 6 vehicles equipped. It would help us tremendously. It does not cure the problem whatsoever. I think you may have heard Shannon with the council say, you guys, I'm sure you need 15 vehicles right now. And we do. But the 6 vehicles, the 330,000, we can make work for 6. So.
So do you do 330 or do you do wiggle room on that also?
Well,
So the council has, if we release or buy to lease, they have appropriated 4 cars for 2024. But approximately, assuming you can get it. I'm assuming, I mean, I can't speak for the council, you know. I would have liked that the council would have discussed with us before they just put through a number in and said, this is for lease and this is not for lease. So we would have known what their thinking was.
One thing the council reiterated over and over is, you know, we need to keep ARPA and council's 2 separate things. Let's not.
It is 2 separate things,
Yeah,
yes.
so
It would help better understand what they were budgeting for, so that we could back into whatever
Yeah.
number we decide that we're willing to fund.
The council has provided 4 vehicles for years and years, 4 vehicles outfitted each year. And they, as they said, they're aware that that pace does not, we probably need 7 vehicles a year in all reality to stay on track. So we're so far behind the 8 ball, as Tim said. Once you get behind, man, and we're in so much trouble. So I just, like I said, the council has gotten us 4 vehicles a year for, I don't know, for a very long time. And so I know they advise, let's keep the conversation separate from what we do from ARPA, because I had brought up ARPA a couple times. I'm like, oh, that's a separate thing. So.
Well, right now, I'm looking at, we're talking somewhere between $595,000 and $615,000. If you're wanting to put a number with that.
Is that what you just added up, what I'm
Yep.
trying to add up? My fingers won't work.
Yep.
What did you put down for the sheriff?
The 330 to 360. So that's
Thank you.
why, that's what makes you between 595 and 615. If you total all the rest of them in, that's where you're at. So the question here is, because we're trying to, obviously number 29 on our
We have to balance what we,
resolution, we're going to have to,
yep.
we're going to split this and have it redone, have Joel rewrite that for 2 separate motions or 2 separate lines.
Well,
So
and
somebody
I
needs to.
still want to balance out because we have $11 million worth of repairs to these
Well, I
buildings
know.
as well. So I also want to balance that as well.
I'll go on record to say, I appreciate you saying up to 360. I'll go on record to say if you just split that in the middle and said 345, if we could allot a money amount, there is maybe there's a possibility I think I would rather just set a money amount. I don't need to go to 360. I would be thrilled if you said we're going to allot 330. It has to go to vehicles and upfitting, nothing else.
So has anybody at the Sheriff's Department, I know there are a lot of grants for police vehicles through the state. Does anybody checking on that, looking through those? Because I know there's a lot of grants through the state.
I can't say that we are actively checking on those.
I would encourage that.
Yeah, and I'll take that.
Yeah, because we have a lot
advice.
of, Tim runs, a lot of departments run on grants. I would encourage that.
Okay, we'll definitely work on that.
Yes, ma'am. Look for the grants? Yeah.
Well, that takes us to the 595 as far as total, if someone's wanting to assign a dollar amount or to take away
So
from.
let's do this to, well, I don't know if it's more convoluted to make each one a line item by itself. Is that going to be easier, or?
I think probably would be easiest if it read that the amount assigned to each department to purchase new vehicles, and then with the remainder going to improve the county buildings.
Okay, so like a 29, 30, 31, 32, or
or you could
just
do
list
it-
it all in paragraph?
Yeah, you could do it as 29 to be the
So somebody needs to, I'm going to make a motion to move forward on this, and then we can continue the discussion, and you can put it all in one. So I'm going to make the motion, because we haven't gotten to that far, for up to $110,000 for Henry County EMS, 2 SUVs, up to $60,000 for weights and measures, slide unit, up to $85,000 for TIM EMA for a truck, so we can get that off the plate and then move forward with the rest of the discussion. So I will make that motion to modify the coronavirus resolution 2023-9-13-016. Yes, I will. Henry County EMS up to $110,000 for 2 SUVs. Weights and measures slide unit of up to $60,000. EMA up to $85,000.
And not do the sheriff.
Not, we'll do that separate.
And I guess my question to further that discussion is, are there grants out there available for each one
I
of the
will tell you
products?
that Mandy and Tim daily look for grants and apply for grants. I won't say they apply for grants daily, but every day are looking at grants. Yes. Mandy has run a lot of her department in the last 2 years on grant money. Yes. I think Tim runs almost 90% of his department on grant money, if not almost close to 100% on grant money.
Well, I have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a motion and a second for weights and measures, EMS and EMA. I don't know what that total amount would be. You're talking 195, be 200 and some odd,
$255,000.
Up to $255,000. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Aye. Motion carries 3-0. Now, on to the sheriff's vehicles. Looking at roughly $330,000 left for the purchase of sheriff's vehicles. Any discussion?
Joe's got his thumb on his, like he's going to, you got your thumb like you're going to push the button.
I was just waiting. I make a motion that we go forward with the $330,000 for the purchase of the sheriff vehicles.
I have a motion. Do I have a second?
I don't know if I can second for that amount. I would be willing to go less, but I don't know that I'd be willing to go that high.
Well, then that motion dies for a lack of second. Do I have any other motion?
Could I say something?
I'd be willing to go as high as 3 vehicles with ARP. That'll give 7.
What was the motion?
3 vehicles. Yeah, at 180,000, up to 180,000.
You want to say something?
I do. I want to reiterate what happened in the ARPA meeting, and I want the public to understand what happened. This is very, very clearly a personality conflict.
It is not.
Let me speak, and then you're welcome to. So, I've been talking about vehicles from January, the start of January. I had a meeting right off the bat at the Sheriff's Department with several council members, and Commissioner Plummer was there. Vehicles was a main topic. And I asked if ARPA, or ARP, whatever it is, if we could get money for vehicles from ARP. And I specifically asked Commissioner Plummer. She said, well, you'll have to just come and ask. So I asked if ARP funds had been used for emergency vehicles previously, and her response was, it's public information, you can look it up.
Oh, no, I did not. I said, yes, we did. We're not going to get into this back and forth, John.
This is
Please.
not a back and forth. I requested it to not be. I want to make a statement for the public to hear.
But I'm going to stop you if you put words in my mouth. I said, yes, we did, ambulances.
Okay, I had a lot of people there.
Okay,
Okay, so I want to complete the statement. So it was made very clear, you have to come and ask. If you can get vehicles, you have to come and ask the ARP committee. So I said, well, I certainly will be there. What is the date? I apparently put the date in my calendar wrong. I showed up the day before the meeting was to be held. I walked in here, there's nobody in here. I kind of panicked. I thought, oh, I've goofed this up. So I went over to the commissioner's office, and Commissioner Plummer and Commissioner Dellinger were in the office. And I said, oh, my goodness. I said, did I miss the ARP meeting? They said, no, that's tomorrow. So I said, oh, thank God. Okay, I said, do I need to get on any special agenda? Obviously, I'm going to ask for vehicles. And the answer was no, you just need to show up and you can ask for vehicles. So I said, okay, no problem, we'll see you tomorrow. Myself and Captain Kovacs, Chief Deputy Smith were here. If I remember correctly, we were the only ones in the seating area. The ARP committee started up. They deliberated for 50 minutes, and then a motion was made to give the rest of the money to the county to do building repairs. And along with that motion, to disband the ARP committee. I was totally in shock. I thought this certainly did not happen the way I heard it. So I came to the podium and I asked, I said, did I just hear a motion to give all of the money to the county for building maintenance and to disband the ARP committee? The answer was yes, and that motion was approved. So I was extremely upset, as I should be. They both knew why I was here. There's no questioning that. I was in their office the day before. That was simply, plainly appeared to be a power move.
it was not. And if, I'm going to interrupt you, because then the committee said, John, come up. Kyle rescinded his motion, and yes, he made a motion. It got convoluted. The ARP committee is an advisory committee only. Doesn't mean anybody has to do anything. But you were allowed to present. And a motion was made, but we're not going to go into a back and forth. We're going to stay focused here.
That's correct. I don't want a back and forth. I want to be able to
Well,
make a
and I
statement.
do want to say something, because I remember the conversation in our office, and I do want to make a slight correction, because not once during the conversation that I had with you did you mention you were coming for vehicles. You said you wanted to be at the ARP meeting to make a request. You didn't specify vehicles. So to say that I knew you were coming for vehicles, you specifically did not say I'm coming for vehicles. Had you done that, then I would have agreed with everything you just said. Other than that, I beg to differ that that was not the actual conversation. But you did want to be here for a request. And like I told you during that meeting, nothing that was said here was set in stone during the ARP committee meetings. Those were just recommendations. That was their recommendation for the rest of the money and to disband the committee, because we would have been done at that point. I then told you that if you had a request, because that was just a suggestion by the committee, and so you made your request, and that's where we're at.
So back to the you have to come and ask. Here's what is really odd to me. So I was allowed finally to ask. I asked for $330,000 for 6 vehicles. Nobody else was there to ask for anything. So today, $255,000 has been given to departments who were not there to ask. And
if you recall in that meeting, I said, if we're going to talk about vehicles for county departments, let's add in, because Tim had talked to me prior about, hey, I'm in need. Mandy, because I meet with these department heads all the time, that but.
And
So-
correct. So you had a very clear understanding that I'm in desperate need of vehicles. I would have assumed you might have brought that up even, you brought it up for them.
You
asked
came and
for it,
asked
don't
for
even
it.
get it.
I'm not going to argue with you, John. I am not going to argue. You can be upset that these are in here. That's fine. Be upset.
Listen, I'm not
But,
upset.
Henry County EMS doesn't get a dime of county money. They operate solely on what they produce, 100%. He gets very little of county money. He operates on grants. They don't have any money for vehicles. They don't get any money appropriated out of the general fund for vehicles. So I get it. You can be upset, and that's fine. I mean, everybody has their own opinion. But this is not going to be a going back and forth, bashing, doing whatever, however you want to do it. We're not going to do it. So
And I'm not,
Even this right here, what we're recommending, once the resolution is drawn up, we could vote it down and not approve it for EMA, EMS, or the Sheriff's Department. These are just recommendations, and this is a resolution that we're going to have Joel rewrite and send back to us, and then we will vote on it. We may change and say, okay, we're only going to approve this
and the
amount.
council may say, we're not approving any of it.
Yeah.
I mean, because I think that was brought up at the budget meeting,
I
that the commissioners make the plan for the ARP, and if they don't like it, they don't have to approve it, which is absolutely true.
I understand that. And most certainly, I am not upset about these departments getting emergency vehicles. They need them probably as bad as we do. I am happy with that. I guess what throws me is there's $5 million going to buildings, and for some reason you have an issue with a certain amount of money. You're good for $180,000, but boy, you've got to.
That'll give you 7 vehicles, which is 3 more than any other sheriff prior to you has ever gotten. It's a compromise, John. Sometimes we have to compromise.
Well, they didn't have to compromise at all. You just simply made up out of thin air, we're going to give them this, this, and this. I come asking for it and don't get it. So here is my biggest concern. I've said it over and over. I want to make it clear because I want.
I mean, it may die for lack of second. I don't know. If we could just move on. I have heard you. You have made your point. You have made your point.
I haven't made the point that I am. I don't know, what was that?
That was your microphone.
Okay. Here's what I want the community to know. The main reason that I am asking for vehicles is for safety. It's for safety. We have officers who drive hundreds of thousands of miles a year driving vehicles that are falling apart. It is a liability issue. It puts my officers at risk. It puts the county at risk for lawsuits. I have given this illustration. I'm going to give it again. The Indiana Sheriff's Association warned us about this. A county would not spend money to fix a $500-ish part on a vehicle. It failed and killed the chief deputy's wife. The county paid out millions of dollars in a lawsuit. My issue is the safety of our officers, the safety of the people that we are passing when we're running to emergency calls. That is my issue. We are putting our officers in great liability, and I absolutely, I cannot make sense, and I know I don't have to, but what is happening right here does not make any sense. That there is $100 and some thousand that you have an issue with. It makes no sense at all. You will give them, when you told us you have to come and ask. I came and asked. I don't get what I asked for. The other people get, you just make it up. I would appreciate you just.
I didn't make it up. John, and we're repeating and circling back around. We get your point. We get your point.
Well,
And let us finish our discussion, because we could sit here for an
Right.
hour
Well,
and circle back around
okay,
and
well, I'm
back
not going to
around and back
circle, I'm
around.
not going to circle anymore, and I've had to circle because you keep wanting to talk here. I could have made the statement and been done, but I want to say this. Our department, our guys, they're watching very clearly. They know very clearly what is going on, and you are putting our officers at risk.
So if I don't
Bottom
give you
line.
15 cars, if we don't vote for 15 cars, are you going to say that we're putting officers at risk? We don't give you 100 cars, we're putting your officers at risk? What's the number that you're not going to tell me that I am crapping all over the officers?
Okay. The number
Your officers
is-
know exactly how I appreciate them and how I feel about them. So don't try to make this as I don't give a crap about the sheriff's department.
Okay. The number would be that we requested $330,000 for vehicles. And narrowing that number down because of some reason, I have no idea, that it doesn't make good practical sense. That's my opinion.
Part of this goes back to where the money was originally supposed to go to in the first place. And everything extra we take out to give somebody else is something else that doesn't get taken care of. It's just like going to the grocery store. If you want to buy 4 loaves of bread, but you get the check out and you only got money to take care of, you can only buy 1. All right, you have to put 3 loaves back. And that's what we're faced with every time we take something out of this, because this money originally was all supposed to go for the maintenance and repair of buildings. So we're not going to get this opportunity again, and that's what we're
Right.
looking at, was everything we take away from it. And your request for more vehicles isn't any different than any other sheriff that's come before you that's asked for vehicles. And they've managed to do with what they've had. And we're not saying no to new vehicles, but we're given more than we've ever given before. And you could buy a brand new vehicle and have a part fail on it and cause an accident. And if you go back to where somebody else was riding in a vehicle, it goes back to the argument of whether we should have take-home vehicles or not. And I remember you having that discussion when you were campaigning for sheriff, whether everybody should be taking home vehicles or not. So then that this could keep going on, and we never get anywhere.
Do we have, let me ask you this question. Do the commissioners have the authority to dice this up? Is that not, I'm just wondering, because we've gone from an ARPA resolution to the commissioners now sorting out things.
The commissioners make the plan of all ARPA funds, yes.
I'll say in all reality, there didn't even have to be an ARPA committee. The commissioners were the sole proprietors of that funds, period. We did it to help and get more input from other people.
With the council having to appropriate. So we could put all of this together. We could put in $360,000 into the council, into here for your cars, and the council could vote it down.
Could we take that chance?
I have stated where I'm at right now. Now, nothing's been said. Joe Wiley has not weighed in on it, and, Joe, if you want to weigh in on it, but
I weighed in
think
at
it's a healthy compromise. The sheriff's department of the ARP money already has gotten well over $500,000 of ARP money over the past 2 years.
I weighed in at the 330, which failed. And if you've made a motion for 180, if that's going to be the maximum amount, I don't know. I haven't heard a second to that either, so I don't know.
Well, we were just in the discussion phase at that point.
I was going to say, because I'm still unsure on whether I would approve if it came back to me on whether we got 2 squads for EMS at this point, or we just got 1, and whether we approved Gabe's slide-in.
Gabe's slide is required by law.
So that's where I was at with it. And I'm hoping that Tim finds a vehicle for less than $85,000, but
So I will make the motion for three vehicles for the sheriff's department. That will give them a total of 7, which is more than any previous sheriff had ever gotten.
I'm not going to sign a lease, so apparently it's not going to give us a total of 7.
You said you were going to look at financing 4 out of that $64,000.
I said the council can deal with all of the financing or all that.
Well, then you have to take that part to the council.
Correct. So they have approved $64,000 is what they have at least stated in their budget.
Well, I can't control them. But
Okay, so I don't want you to don't say that they're going to get 4 vehicles because we're not aware of that. So we may get
Okay,
one.
I will change that I don't know what the council's going to do. I will assume that $64,000 or whatever will cover for lease to purchase vehicles as it did. It's not a lease. It's what you said about going to the bank like the city did. It's not a lease. It was called a lease to purchase. Are you not signing that either?
I don't believe that in that regard that I have that doesn't have to do with me, as I have said earlier. I believe that's a
Correct,
council
but
issue.
I am saying the $64,000, if that would work that way, that's why I will take it out to say, so that you don't get upset, 7 vehicles. The council can deal with the $64,000 and the whatever they annually budget for the sheriff's vehicles.
So what was the statement on the 7 vehicles then?
I'm not saying that you will get 7 vehicles. I'm saying that I'm making the motion for 3 vehicles. I will take out the comment that the council has 4 vehicles.
I'll say if you go with what the council has approved already at the 64,000 and the 180 that you did, that's a total of $244,000 for sheriff's vehicles.
They have not approved anything to my knowledge.
It's in their budget.
It's in their budget.
Because
what
they said that
approved.
if you didn't lease, that would buy you 1 car, and that's.
Correct, but it's not approved. I mean, it's a budget session.
It will be approved. So that'll give you 200 and whatever thousand. I mean, if you did,
244.
if you did the thing with the lease to own, lease to purchase, or financing, I'm going to change the name of it, John, to financing through the bank.
What if they,
Purchase
but if they
a lot of
don't?
cars.
Here's the thing. If they don't,
If they, who
we
don't?
can get
Who
1
doesn't?
car, we'll have 4 cars, and I want the community.
If you listen to what I just said, so 200,
244,000.
so leased or purchased or financing at a bank, that would probably get you, I don't know.
I've
more
been
cars.
told over and over, keep those separate. I think earlier in this meeting, you said, yeah.
I'm just saying, I'm not,
So-
I'm just saying in an overall,
What if the council gives us 10 cars, then do we not get any? Let's,
no, this is, the council, we don't have the money to give you 10 cars. The council doesn't have the money to give you 10 cars. But anyway, let the council, you will get that $64,000. So if you add 180 plus 64, that's 244. If you did like the city and finance 10 vehicles, you could probably finance 10 vehicles with $244,000.
here's what I want to make clear.
Instead of buying outright.
If we get into a situation where our cars are out of service, I'm telling you, we're not going to have cars on the road. And so,
Well, I can tell you, I could go tell you today to go buy 20 cars and you won't have them tomorrow. It'll be months before you get them. So what are you going to do in the meantime?
exactly what I just said.
Okay.
Because I've been talking about this for 9 months now. 9 months, it's a critical issue. It's a critical issue. And we are arguing over, out of $5 million some dollars, arguing over, you say 180, we can do 180, but we can't do this 330. That's absolutely ridiculous. It's ridiculous.
I appreciate your opinion.
Well, right now I have a motion on the floor for $180,000 for 3 vehicles. Do I have a second on that one?
I guess we're at a standstill.
And that dies for lack of second. Any further discussion?
We're playing with our officers' safety, and this is a goofy game.
It's a goofy game. We're
Listen,
talking about
I made
safety.
a motion. Don't just look at me.
I appreciate him not seconding the motion.
Okay.
I appreciate that.
All
I would
right,
rather
then.
be at a gridlock because you started it, and it's officer safety and public safety, and I don't appreciate it.
I would appreciate stopping the attacks. I know you don't respect me. I get that, and I really don't care if you respect me or not. But I am sitting here as an elected commissioner, and you will stop, please.
I am standing here as the elected
And
sheriff.
I
Can
have not disparaged you in any way, shape, or form.
You're disparaging us from vehicles.
I am not,
You're disparaging
John.
our department.
John, I respect your position. I respect you in that position. I expect the same courtesy for not only me, him, or anybody else sitting here. You can agree, you can not agree. That's fine. You and I can have a differing of opinion. That's fine. I still respect you for what you do in law enforcement and everybody else. So, Joe, it's up to you. What do you want to do? I mean, you didn't want to do what I wanted to do. We're kind of at a standstill, so do we just move on?
And you didn't want to do what I wanted to do, so where do we find even, where do we find?
I don't know.
ground
Commissioner
we can agree
Dellinger,
on?
your thoughts?
I'm sorry, I stepped in.
No, I say
No.
Commissioner Dellinger, your thoughts. You've been quiet on this.
Well, I'm trying to figure out where the compromise level is. And if anybody has any thoughts, I'd be more than happy to hear them.
I'm listening for yours. I have voiced my opinion. Joe has voiced his. You have not voiced yours.
Well,
Is it too much to ask for a reason for,
And if so, it's fine, I don't know. Can I ask for a reason for going from 330 to 180?
I think it's a good compromise. That's all I'm going to tell you.
I'm asking for a reason.
I have given you my reason. That's it. You can like it or not like it. Let's move on to other business, and we'll come back to it, because otherwise we're going to sit here for another 45 minutes and get nothing done. So I'm going to ask that we move on to this, and we'll circle back at the end.
well, we can do that. I was just going to make a suggestion. If we did 200 with what the council has approved, that's 264,000. That's total for either purchase, you want lease to own, however you want to qualify that.
You need to make it in a motion.
Well, I just wanted to know if that was acceptable, because that compromises between.
You making a motion?
Well, I was asking if that was, I thought we were up for discussion here, so I was asking if that was acceptable, or to my colleagues, I guess.
That sounds like a compromise that would work.
So does anyone want to make a motion on that?
I will make the motion for 200,000. I will compromise up additional 220 against my initial.
A second.
Motion's been made and second to spend $200,000 on sheriff's cars with the council approval in their budget of $64,000, which puts us at a total of $264,000 with the purchase of police cars. I have a motion and a second.
It's no better than last year, including ARPA.
including ARPA. It's no better than last year.
Last year was $150,000 for police cars. Why is it not better?
4 vehicles, 4 sixes are 240,000.
But if you're going to do the purchase to own, then the payments would allow you to get more vehicles.
You're really not even going to look at the financing at Citizen State Bank?
That's
like the
not
city?
my thing to do. That's the council. We could, I mean, so that's not my issue. We could look at, I mean, if we just run
I
numbers
would be,
like this.
I mean, if you think about it, $264,000 to finance
Okay.
is going to get you many more cars.
Okay, so here's what I would request then. If we're just going to run numbers like that, let's try to look into financing over a 10-year period. That'll help us get more cars. If that's the way we're going to look at it, let's try to get a loan.
Why would
and
you
spread
finance
that.
a car over a 10-year period?
I'm just making a comment. It's very relative about, we're just looking, we can finance you. We could do all kind of things. We need to get to the heart of the matter.
The heart of the matter, John, is you want 15 cars. If we can look at...
That's correct, and I only asked for 6 from you, from ARP. And we need 15 cars. And we're already...
I understand that, but how many cars can you... What?
You apparently don't understand it good enough if you understand that we need 15 cars. And
You have requested, I don't know that you need 15 cars, you have requested 15 cars.
Well,
I would
I've
have to
actually
go look at all of
requested
the
6.
vehicles.
I've requested
At
6.
one point earlier in the year, you requested 15. But, I mean, I think it's a good compromise to see how much we could get on, because I think they got 10. Do you remember what the dollar figure was? But they did 10. My guess is you could probably do close to 10 financed over 4 years with $264,000. If not, my goodness. I mean, obviously I haven't run the numbers, but, you know.
And I figure at that point, that starts you on your rotation, I would like to think, instead of hanging on to them for that long.
This is my last statement on it. Here's the bottom line. This is a messed up deal from the get-go. Everybody understands this is a need. It's not a want, it's a need. Everybody understands that. We're dealing with a chunk of money that, as you said, this opportunity is not going to come along again. It's a one-time opportunity that I would think we would be well to invest in these items that can cure a problem, or at least start helping the cure. You've said there's $11 million needed in repair, so $5 million don't really make a dent in it. We can cure.
Yeah, because we bonded $5.7 million.
We can cure, really start the cure to the vehicles through this. And I'll never understand how we went from requesting 330 and somehow it's got narrowed down to we're trying to make a deal with 200 when other people weren't even at the meeting, never came and asked, but we're going to dump off 250. And I wish they had dump off.
John, I brought it up at that committee meeting.
I know.
And I don't care if they came to ask or not.
Well, you told me I had to come and ask, and you didn't give me the opportunity when I got here.
You said, is there ARP available? I said, you can come and request ARP.
And you didn't give
I
me
have
the
had
opportunity.
conversations with each one of these department heads. You can agree with it or not agree with it. You can get on with it, not get on with it.
So
can like me
you
or
had
not like me.
conversations, and you gave them what they asked for.
You didn't ask for anything in that meeting. You said, is ARP available? And I said, yes, it is. All you have to do is come. You said, is ARP available? I'm done arguing with this. So a motion was made and seconded.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. Next up, we have survey for the courthouse, DLZ. I have an email here, actually to you, Bobby. It's a recent survey on the property around the courthouse. Did you want to address that?
So Henry Stelma from DLZ sent me an email that said, do you know if there's any recent surveys around the property line of the courthouse? We want to address the water issue in the basement, and this will most likely involve new drains around the building. So I had everybody check, and we do not have any. So I'm assuming, Joel, that since this would be a professional services, we don't have to open up to bid to hire a surveyor. So we need to, I will make a motion that we contact a surveying company and have them survey around the courthouse so that DLZ can move forward in their scope of work for the building.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries 3-0. Now I have a independent contract agreement for Dick Rogers, the JCAP program through the Sheriff's Department.
So this contract is for Dick Rogers for JCAP, but it's the agreement, and I think the sheriff requested that the agreement be between the commissioners and Mr. Rogers. It's identical. The $50 an hour is the same, and there is still monies appropriated from or available from the appropriation that we did with our money for JCAP last year to fund this contract for another year.
I'll say for the full year or just
Yes,
the
for the full
remainder?
year. For
Okay.
the full year. This expires September 30th.
Okay.
Am I correct, Sheriff, you wanted this between the commissioners and Mr. Rogers? Does he need to read it?
So,
So I will make the
Well-
motion to accept the contract between the Henry County Commissioners and Dick Rogers to continue to provide services to the JCAP program at the jail.
I second the motion.
I have a motion and a second to approve contract for Dick Rogers for JCAP. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries 3-0. I have a letter of engagement from Wagner, Irwin, and Shealy. Contract to change the previous contract we had with them. Fees were billed on an hourly rate from somewhere between $145 an hour down to $45 an hour, depending on whether we have a principal, a senior consultant, or just a regular consultant. And fees on the above specified job classification, compensation, maintenance service, we billed on an annual retainer basis of $13,800, billed monthly at $1,550. I'll take it back, $1,150.
Yeah, this is going to start in January, so over the how many ever years prior, Wagner and Schillen billed us $450 a month for their services, which they were losing money on. And so they were here a couple weeks ago at a work session to discuss everything that they provide, and that is the result of that. So I will make the motion to accept the letter of engagement from Wagner, Irwin, and Shealy.
Second.
Motion is made and seconded to accept the agreement between Wagner, Irwin, and Shealy. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries 3-0. Next, we have Greensboro Township Board appointment of Mary Adkins. She's a resident of Greensboro, interested in being appointed to serve on the Greensboro Township Board. Do I have a motion?
It seems like they just have a hard time keeping advisory board members, so I will make the motion to appoint Mary Atkins to the Greensboro Township Advisory Board.
Second.
Motion is made and seconded to appoint Mary Atkins to the Greensboro Township Board. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries 3-0. Now we have an interlocal agreement between Town of Knightstown and our building inspector. Any discussion?
So this came up, the building inspector in Knightstown is off on a short term for medical leave, and they do not have anyone to do any of their inspections. Talking to Joel and to Scott, since they have their own building codes, they have their own inspector, that we could help out It's not like us going into an area that doesn't have anything and trying to do inspections, that we could help out on an as-needed basis and as it fits within his schedule with the county. Obviously, county inspections come first, but this is just an agreement that can be terminated at any time to allow us to go in and Scott to go in and do inspections on an as-needed basis.
So do I have a motion?
And I will make the motion to approve.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded to enter into this interlocal agreement between Knightstown and Henry County for their building inspector. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries 3-0.
And Knightstown Town Council will have to approve it as well.
Yes.
So.
And next, we have the leasing for the Motorola equipment for $9,644.69.
Butch, you
Does
wanna
Butch
talk
want to address this, or just? Could be the final bill. No guarantee. Could be?
I will make the motion to approve, hopefully, the final bill for the Motorola equipment.
I second.
Motion's made and seconded. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries 3-0. Next up for discussion is our September 27th meeting. We have a commissioners' conference and we'll be gone that week. Any discussion on what pleasure is?
Do we want to just not have that meeting that week? Joe, you want to weigh in on that? You just want to not have that meeting that week? I know the council is having their meeting on the 29th. I don't know if we necessarily want to do that or if we just want to. Oh, that's right. Secretary's gone too. So I guess, well, since our secretary's gone too, what'd you say?
I said our secretary don't want to be here.
I will just make the motion that we just not reschedule that meeting. We'll cancel that meeting and not have a second meeting in September. That gives Joel a break as well.
I second.
Motion's made and seconded to cancel the September 27th meeting for the commissioners since we will be in conference. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries 3-0. Any comments from the public?
I hope to make this short and sweet. First of all, I'd like to thank you for the copy of your contract between the Expo Board and the commissioners this way. And I've gone through it, and I've talked to two lawyers, and two lawyers both said that the Sanders family cannot do anything about it. The park cannot do anything about it, but you guys as commissioners, even though you didn't sign it, could go through and check it out and see if you could do something, not only to get the Sanders shelter started, but if you take a drive through the south side of the park, there is no restroom, there is no playground, and this is going on 5 years, over 5 years, and this is without, minus the year for COVID this way and stuff. I understand that. And They've tried to come up with different things to get the money to do it. They tried borrowing from the park, and the park would not sign the contract because they wanted to pay the park, or Expo Board wanted to pay the park back $40 every time they loaned out or the thing. So park did not sign it. They are trying to sell some property here that I've been told it since March this way and stuff. But I think if you take a drive through the park, it is wrong what they're doing on that part of the park. Because like I said, nobody wants to take their children to the park, that part of the park, where there's no playground and no restrooms unless you walk down, and the restrooms at the Saddle Club is unlocked. So I would ask at this time for you guys to go through. It doesn't have to be done today, but I need to see if you can do something to get this started. And all they're doing, they did the Phillips shelter first, and then their plan was to do their building, and then they do the Sanders shelter in the park and stuff this way. But this is just going on too long.
Say, Joel, could you look into that, see what our options could be?
Absolutely, it's been a long while since I've looked at it, so.
And I don't know, I have not asked at the park, the people that rent the shelters over there, whether they've come back and rented it for the second year this way. I do not pay rent because the Expo Board knows that. And they also have been kind and got a porta potty for us. If I call them and tell them the date, then they have a porta potty for us. But this is not right for a public park. That's all I got to say. Thank you.
Thank you. Anything else?
Motion to adjourn.
I have a motion to adjourn. Do I have a second? Second. Motion made and second to adjourn. So moved.